Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. The scriptures teach us that prejudice is wrong, and yet people, even Christians, can harbor prejudice. Now, prejudice isn't simply disagreeing with how someone lives or how they behave, nor is it disagreeing with people over them living in sin. It is a hatred for someone simply based on who they are, not what they do. Someone can be prejudiced against the rich or against the poor. Someone can be prejudiced against African people, Chinese people, Jews, etc. And all prejudice is wrong. All hatred of people is wrong, for even the Christian is to want salvation of a sinner through that person's repentance. Jewish prejudice is nothing new. It goes back centuries, and it was alive and well in the Persian Empire. And like has been true at different states of history, the prejudice in Persia was so bad that it almost caused the extermination of the Jews. Who started it? Let's find out. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to the Book of Esther, to Esther chapter 3. We're going to be reading from verses 1 to 6. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Esther chapter 3, beginning at verse 1. After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes who were with him. And all the king's servants who were within the king's gate bowed and paid homage to Haman, and so the king had commanded concerning him. But Mordecai would not bow or pay homage. Then the king's servants who were within the king's gate said to Mordecai, "Why do you transgress the king's command?" Now it happened, when they spoke to him daily, and he would not listen to them, that they told it to Haman, to see whether Mordecai's words would stand, for Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow or pay him homage, Haman was filled with wrath. But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had told him of the people of Mordecai. Instead, Haman sought to destroy all the Jews who were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, the people of Mordecai. In the last chapter, Ahasuerus had staved off a conspiracy to kill him. Mordecai informed him of this conspiracy through Esther, the new queen, and it likely led to Mordecai being raised up in the king's court. But Mordecai wasn't raised to the position of prime minister. Haman was. Haman was the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. Now, that Haman was an Agagite usually piques the interest of some Bible students, for back in our studies of 1 Samuel, we ran into Agag in our study of King Saul. Let's reread 1 Samuel 15, verses 6 to 9. "Go, depart, get down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt." So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites, and Saul attacked the Amalekites from Havilah all the way to Shur, which is east of Egypt. He also took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the fatlings, the lambs, and all that was good, and were unwilling to utterly destroy them. But everything despised and worthless, that they utterly destroyed. Agag was king of the Amalekites and was to be utterly destroyed by Saul, which of course didn't happen, which led to Saul's house not being allowed to continue as kings of Israel, with that honor falling to the house of David. Now, of course, Agag was later killed by Samuel, but since Saul didn't utterly destroy the Amalekites, leaves open the possibility that descendants of Agag survived. Could Haman be one of those descendants some 600 years later? Perhaps, but such is impossible to prove, so while that might pose an interesting possibility, we should not be dogmatic about it. Now, just like it was with the king, Haman, as prime minister, saw himself as a big shot. Maybe not a deity, but certainly someone who deserved homage to be paid to him. And the king must have thought so too, for it was ordered that the people bow down and pay homage to Haman in his role as prime minister. And for the most part, the people obeyed. Except Mordecai, that is. Why would Mordecai disobey? We're not entirely told, though from Mordecai's character, it seems highly likely that Mordecai didn't because he would not bow down and worship man. He would worship God alone. You see, this bowing was not a simple greeting or nicety, like is seen in front of many kings and queens today. It was actual worship, something Mordecai as a Jew would not do. And in the beginning, Haman didn't seem to notice, for had he done so, he could have simply told Ahasuerus, who in turn could have had Mordecai killed for disobeying the king's orders. Instead, the king's servants noticed, who inquired of Mordecai why he was defying the king's orders. They asked him for many days, and Mordecai eventually seemingly told them, at which point the servants came and told Haman in order to see if Mordecai's words would stand. I do not blame the servants for doing what they did in a sense, for the king's words were the king's words. Did citizens have the right to break such without consequence? Yes, we ought to obey God rather than man, but when we do so, let's not expect man to roll over and play dead. Punishment will come, and we must accept it. Peter was beaten at the hands of the scribes and Pharisees for preaching Jesus, breaking their law. But he suffered gladly because he knew he was doing God's will. Let's not suffer as an evildoer, for God will judge all of them. But if we suffer, let's suffer as a Christian and rejoice that we have been found worthy to suffer for his name. This pain will be but for a moment. Eternity is forever. Mordecai knew he could get himself into trouble, but he would rather obey God and be righteous than obey man and be wicked. Now, when Haman heard what Mordecai had done and whose people Mordecai belonged to, he was filled with wrath. That means that he wasn't just a little angry. He was extremely angry, which also led to hatred not only of Mordecai, but of the Jews as well. But why was he angry at the Jews? Simply put, because of prejudice. The Jews worshipped a God, even if the faith of those who remained in captivity was weaker, that wouldn't accept other gods. They wouldn't view the king as God. They wouldn't pay homage to other men. In other words, this God was exclusive, and if you didn't worship this God, then you would be doomed to hell. People don't often like being told they're going to hell, and so if a person's religion says that someone is, then that religion and the people who practice it often get persecuted. And in this case, that persecution took the form of annihilation. But Haman is prime minister. He doesn't have the power to exterminate entire people. Ahasuerus would have to order that. How would Haman accomplish getting Ahasuerus to approve this? We'll find out, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Esther chapter 3, verses 7 to 15, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.